Anyone can feel unmotivated to do something. But when you have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, you're wired in a way that makes it especially hard to get started or to follow through. ADHD is a brain-based condition where you may struggle with attention, concentration, impulsivity, distractibility, or hyperactivity. You might not experience all of these at once, but you'll usually have some of them. For example, in the inattentive type of ADHD, there's no hyperactivity. Instead, the main challenge lies in staying focused and maintaining concentration. ADHD symptoms. One symptom that doesn't get talked about enough is impaired motivation. And for people with ADHD, it can be a huge problem. This difficulty with motivation can cause conflict with others and affect the way you see yourself. You may find yourself wondering, why can't I just do this? Sometimes you'll know exactly what needs to be done, yet it feels almost physically painful to push through the inertia and get started. Even when the task itself isn't that big, if your mind isn't engaged, those 5 simple steps can feel like 1,000. Unfortunately, the people around you, those impacted by your delays or incomplete tasks, might conclude that you're lazy or unreliable. But this isn't laziness at all. It's a brain function issue. The brain science behind it, researchers using positron emission tomography, PT scans, have discovered that people with ADHD show disruptions in the brain's dopamine reward pathway. What's the dopamine reward pathway? Here's a simple explanation. Dopamine is a brain chemical that helps control motivation, pleasure, and reward. There are 4 main dopamine pathways in the brain. Think of each pathway as a messaging system. It uses nerve signals to transport dopamine from one brain region to another. In each pathway, dopamine delivers specific messages to its destination, telling that part of the brain what to do. When there's a disruption, like in ADHD, those motivational signals don't get transmitted as effectively, making it harder to start and sustain tasks. Mesolimbic pathway 2. Dopamine pathways in the brain are especially important for motivation. The first is the mesolimbic pathway, where dopamine travels from the midbrain to structures in the limbic system. The limbic area is where your brain processes emotional memory. When you experience something pleasurable, this part of the brain becomes activated by dopamine, and you learn that this activity brings pleasure. That pleasure could come from basic needs, like food or sex, or from more complex sources such as praise, recognition, or validation. This process is what we call the reward system. You do something, receive a pleasurable outcome, and your brain remembers it. For example, you eat a piece of chocolate. Your brain registers, this feels good. You crave more chocolate. You prepare for a task and succeed. Your brain registers, hard work leads to success. You're more likely to try again. Mesocortical pathway. The second important pathway influencing ADHD is the mesocortical pathway. Here, dopamine is produced by nerve cells in the midbrain and travels to the prefrontal cortex, the brain's headquarters for motivation and executive functions. Executive functions include skills like working memory, reasoning, problem-solving, and decision-making. Medications such as Adderall, Ritalin, and Vyvanse work by increasing dopamine levels in this pathway. How ADHD disrupts these pathways. In ADHD, the reward system is impaired because the brain has fewer dopamine transport proteins, the carriers that move dopamine along its pathway to the right destination. It's like having a massive supply chain shortage. There's dopamine available, but not enough transporters to deliver it efficiently. As a result, you don't get strong dopamine signals to reinforce positive and productive behaviors. Without that reinforcement, your efforts don't feel satisfying. Over time, this lack of internal reward leads to a loss of motivation, the core problem. So, low motivation in ADHD often stems from a shortage of dopamine transporters, not from laziness, lack of willpower, or poor character. Motivation in ADHD. Stimulant medications mainly work in the mesocortical pathway of the brain, but their effects last only as long as the medication is active. Even if you take medication, and not everyone with ADHD does, you may still find yourself struggling with motivation. The 4 drivers of motivation in ADHD. Motivation in ADHD is often powered by 4 main factors. 1. Interest. How much the task captures your curiosity. 2. Urgency. How soon it needs to be done. 3. Degree of challenge. Whether it feels stimulating enough to keep you engaged. 4. Novelty. Whether it feels fresh, new, or different. The more you can increase these 4 factors in any given task, the easier it becomes to get started and stay on track. Urgency. Why pressure works. This is why many people with ADHD say they work better under pressure. If the deadline is far away, it's hard to get started. But urgency creates a spark. It gives you the push you need to finally sit down and work. You might say, I do my best work the night before it's due. And while that's true for many, working last minute isn't ideal. Tasks don't always come together perfectly, especially if they rely on other people's input. Plus, if working under extreme pressure makes you anxious, it may solve one problem while creating another. Creating urgency. Without the stress. One way to create urgency is to use a timer. Let's say something is due in 3 days. Instead of starting the night before, set a timer and challenge yourself to see how much you can get done in, say, 1 hour. Turning the work into a time challenge can make it more interesting and satisfying. It also changes your mindset. A task that feels like it will take forever now has a clear time limit. You work for an hour, stop, and then reward yourself. Maybe with 30 minutes on TikTok or some other activity you enjoy. Adding interest through body doubling. Another way to make a task more engaging is body doubling, working alongside someone else. You don't need to be doing the same work. For example, you could do homework while a friend works on their own project over video chat. Just having another person present can be reassuring, give you accountability, and help you stay on track. The key is to choose someone who won't distract you, won't shame you if you struggle to focus. If you don't have a partner available, you can find body doubling videos on YouTube for studying, cleaning, and other tasks. Using novelty to your advantage. If a task feels boring, change your environment. Need to write a paper? Try working in a coffee shop. Yes, it's a busy setting, but ADHD brains can hyper-focus on things they enjoy. The smells, background chatter, and cozy atmosphere might help you stay engaged rather than distracted, if it's a setting you like. The Pomodoro Technique. A final tool for improving motivation is the Pomodoro Technique. This method, around for 30 years, alternates short bursts of work with quick breaks. You work for 25 minutes, then take a 5-minute break. That's 1 Pomodoro. After 4 Pomodoros, you take a longer break of about 30 minutes. This works well for ADHD because it's hard to sustain focus for long periods without getting bored or distracted. The built-in breaks keep your energy and focus fresh. Key takeaways. Low motivation in ADHD is often caused by insufficient dopamine in the brain's reward pathway. But you can work with your brain by making tasks more fun and interesting. Urgent or challenging. Fresh and new. Some strategies to try. Use a timer to create urgency. Change your environment to spark novelty. Work with a body double for accountability. Break tasks into timed segments with the Pomodoro Technique. With the right approach, motivation doesn't have to be a constant uphill battle. Thanks for watching. See you next time.